There we go.
Oh,
All
yay.
right, now we're connected to audio as well. Christy and I, we were just chatting about this yesterday about how, you never know what's going to happen, even with test runs and
Yeah,
all that.
anything can happen at any moment. That's my new motto.
Yes, it's teaching us, to be adaptable and versatile and
Yeah, and patience, I think, is patience is such an important skill as a musician. Nothing comes easy or, automatically. It's all those 10,000 hours of practicing or, you know, um, just being in the moment is such an important lesson for us and for our students.
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm not quite sure where we lost our stream, but I know you were talking about your sabbatical, and I think it would be really great to just share, where your family went. We didn't get the chance to talk about that, and then
Right.
yeah, you have all of these brand new students that you maybe saw for a
Seven
month or
lessons, I think
two.
7 lessons before we suddenly went.
Seven. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But yeah, the sabbatical was an incredible opportunity, and really, Powell was a huge part of it because I did so much traveling. First, we were in New England, like we usually are at our wonderful music camp, Greenwood Music Camp, which is the oldest camp in New England, 87 years without a break until this year. Um,
Wow.
and then we spent some time in New York City, which was really fun. Did a lot of different classes, of course, lots of things with the Buffet Crampon showroom, and was the project was kind of based on this the George Rochberg Caprice variations that you talked about, and the Etude of the Week, Katie Weary's amazing many thousand flutist strong Facebook
Yeah.
etude group chose the Rockbird Caprices. So there was 21 weeks during the sabbatical when I recorded a different etude from different locations, and
Wow.
it was really fun, really fun. So we were in New York City, and then we went to Ireland. Here's a photo of me recording one of the Rockbergs in a cave, a stone hut.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That was really fun. We
And
went
now how amazing that those, recordings get to live on, online forever, and you have those built-in memories.
I know. It's like each one sort of has a different flavor to it now that's even stronger. We went to Paris and then we went to Barcelona. And then came home, epic back to Boulder, Colorado, which is where I am now. And yeah, just that experience of traveling as a family, of of meeting so many different flutists. I did, I think 15 different master classes when I was gone, which is really so special to get to meet people that
Mhm.
way. Was really inspiring,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so those skills were really important. It turns out to these last couple of months. We got a little head start on the homeschool. Lots of friends I know have been doing that, and
Yes.
nice that that was not a new thing for us, and certainly spending time together that way. Um,
Mhm.
but yes, I really missed my students, and so adapting to the online teaching environment is a huge learning curve for us all, of course. But I think that the best thing in all those lessons has been the Zoom meetings, the studio classes, and specifically, I started doing a warm up class with my students.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so that's all online, and could you tell us about that?
Yeah,
That sounds really
so I
exciting.
wasn't sure how it was going to work. I've always been, we've talked about this in the past, but I've always been such a warm-up buff exercise person, I think it's from studying with Jeannie Baxtresser at Juilliard, and she just had me in such a steady diet of tone and vibrato and all these exercises that were really foundational to me. And so it felt like, I know a lot of people are doing this now, but these Zoom classes where everyone mutes themselves except for me. You better sound good, no cracking. um, and people just play along. We found them to be really motivational. Just, it's the great thing about Zoom is that, if you mute yourself, no one can hear you, right? So it doesn't matter if you've just rolled out of bed. Some of my freshmen had, they would be in their beds pretty much.
I
Yeah,
guess it's good, to work your core to, if you're playing lying down like that
right,
in
right.
a unsupported mattress.
Right, I know. Everyone shows up where they are, and yeah. So we started doing it, and I got a lot of comments from my students just saying, thank you so much for doing this. If it hadn't been for that 45 minutes we spent together, I don't know if I would have taken my flute out the rest of the day. But the
Mm,
fact that we gathered this way, and I kind of just played.
yeah,
I share my screen and people can just read the music along with me. Just made a big difference it made a difference to me personally as well.
yeah,
So
absolutely. It's such a grounding way to start the day. And, I find that during all of this, it's just so nice to have something to look forward to and to put on the calendar. And
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. So
the
I
fact that
took
it can
a
be, sorry,
Yeah, I
go
took
ahead.
a little break, but then we started yesterday a 30-day journey with my current students, my four new freshmen who will be coming in next year, and then a large, robust group of CU alumni.
Oh,
We started something called Rise Up Flutists.
oh,
Which is a nice analogy for these times, and it's been really fun. It will be a twice a week warm up class, and then companion yoga with Adrienne for people that know that program.
love her.
And
Her videos
so
are
they
so
think
great.
she's just goofy and dorky and just great, and so that was fun. And then my friend Laura Dwyer is doing a companion, very brief daily meditation as well. And then there's also sort of a professional development journaling aspect that students can participate in. All of this is all optional. No one has to do anything. This is, not part of the semester or anything like that. But it has been so much fun. And as
Yeah.
you say, something to look forward to rise up for.
Absolutely. And I imagine too, that kind of mentorship that can happen between the alums and the younger players. And, that'll be such a neat relationship as well.
I know people that didn't know each other. I've been teaching at CU now for 14 years, so the students that were just there at the beginning and the ones that are just coming in now, they don't always know each other, but they'll know. Oh, I've heard about that person for years and years, and here she is, in her glasses, and in her living room, and as you say, that mentorship and just being part of a community that way is the most special aspect right now. The connection is so
Absolutely.
crucial.
Wow. Oh, what a fun project. So you said that that is 30 days
It's
long or
30
in
days, yeah,
consecutively?
kind of as a workshop. And then my hope is to open it up to the bigger flute community, wider flute community, and do some sort of donation to a charity or musicians organization or something like that, if people want, because some people want to give right now and
Right.
some people can't. And I certainly don't need any. This is something I just want to do. It's a really important part of how I'm going forward right now.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And,
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll, we can kind of join you in the morning in spirit and
yeah, it'll be coming soon to you. I promise.
awesome. Awesome. So if you're just tuning in, I'll just kind of welcome any newcomers. We have the wonderful Christina Jennings here with us today, Powell Artist, professor of flute at Colorado Boulder. And we are taking questions from the comments. So, if you have anything that you want to ask Christina, please feel free and be a part of the conversation with us. That's great. So, with all of the virtual teaching and trying to collaborate online, what have you found, to be like the most challenging aspect, and how do you fight through that?
Well, just the quality of sound
Mm,
is such a challenge. I know everyone feels that way, of course. I think it's harder with the flute. I mean, my son is a percussionist, and I will say that is also pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, I'm a tone junkie, as Leon Bicey says, and it's very easy for me to get distracted in someone's sound and kind of go down a wonderful rabbit hole of trying to find core, trying to find resonance there, and so that has been for sure the most challenging. But having said that, it really gives us an opportunity to work on different things. And without a doubt, I've heard from many of my colleagues that there is a different sense of hearing intonation over the internet. And so I joke with my students that the two big perks of these lessons will be that everyone has excellent intonation and really good posture. Because if students are bopping around, it's like, oh, please, could you just be a little calmer, more peaceful in your body?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. And in my own teaching, and if my students are watching, hello, it's definitely a challenge to find the right camera angle and the setup and, try to get even the whole flute. Our
Right.
instrument is pretty unique that way. And I'm sure your husband as a violist can relate, with trying to get a
Yes.
big enough span. And yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
brings a challenge.
We've also been doing a lot of recording, and so that was, I think, I quickly realized that I just couldn't quite sit for an hour and feel like I was giving enough. And so, I was teaching about 30 minutes a week on Zoom, and then 30 to 45 minutes with just students recording themselves and making comments that way. And then you can hear a little bit more, and you can sort of start building a little bit more that way. So we have a YouTube channel, private YouTube channel that students, sometimes they'd be uploading 14, 15 videos a week. It's a lot.
Yeah, good for them. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Have you learned anything, through virtual lessons and virtual collaborations that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise?
I mean, I just think just as a reminder that everyone is so different. Everyone's path is so unique, and some students and some of my friends have really given this opportunity has been something that they've really thrived on. I have students who gave incredible recitals, online recitals, and learned new repertoire and used this as opportunity to really develop a little bit more a certain aspect of their playing, and other students that needed to really pull back and go in a different direction. So the uniqueness of each student and meeting them there, I think was a challenge that there's a softness there. That I think has been really interesting. One of the quotes, there's been so many great quotes that have helped me through this time, has been this Saul Khan quote that says, choose easy, work hard, pay it forward. And I love that because I think as flutists type A, we tend to want to choose hard, work hard, get sick. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And this is an opportunity to really rethink,
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's easy to let, all of the tension of everything really find its way into our playing. And yeah, I like that phrase. That's a good one.
be soft is important right now.
Oh, yes. Yes. We need to be gentle on ourselves. So how your approach to your own playing and your own practicing and has that changed at all, the way that you approach your instrument?
Oh, for sure, for sure. You were talking about projects, and we do have lots of different projects. I think right before we got cut off, I actually have been wanting to learn the Irish flute for a long time, and just ordered myself a plastic beauty here that I've been playing around with a little bit. It's been fun. I've been playing a lot of piano. We have a beautiful piano in my house, and so I've been working on my own things and working with my kids on just really beautiful melodies and things like that. But yeah, it's just interesting to see where this is gonna come. As flutists, we were joking about this yesterday, but you know, there's this sense that the aerosols and the transmission of flutes of all the wind instruments could really be, you know, one of the hardest instruments. And so I think we have to take the long haul here. And CU is actually doing a big study, and a national study on through the science department of aerosols, and we'll be testing all the wind instruments as well as dancers and elementary school children, and there'll be a clinical trial that they actually have begun at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I have right here my my wind defender,
Yes.
which
I've seen those things, only through videos and photos, and I think it's a fascinating concept. And
yeah, they're going to put this in the study too to see if this makes any difference there. But yeah, I think we have to stand strong and be who we are as flutists, and not, suddenly start playing with small little sounds because we're worried. I think we need
right.
to stay in our and stay strong, and just keep on playing. Keep on building and developing and finding musical expression and beautiful sound, and all that stuff just has to be ready for us, so that when the day comes that we go outside and we play again, it'll be
Right. And I think too, it's important because oftentimes we think that if we don't have the flute in our hands, we're not practicing, and it's very tempting with maybe a little bit more free time to just practice those longer hours. But I find that it's just as important, like you said, you're spending more time on piano and Irish flute, and that's going to give a whole new appreciation for what you can accomplish on your natural flute, your regular instrument. And
right.
a few of my colleagues and friends and members of the flute community know that I've taken up the project of learning drum set, thanks to my percussionist husband. So, I feel like my rhythm is going to be that much stronger when I can get
Good,
back in
Kristen.
the world.
That's wonderful. We do have a drum set in the basement, but I don't find myself gravitating there right now, I will say. That's wonderful.
Not quite yet. Not quite
Yeah, I
yet.
think also, reading has been very important to me, and listening to all those pieces that I wanted to learn. My husband has
Absolutely.
been going through the Shostakovich string quartet series that Michael Parloff did at the Metropolitan Museum. Actually, no, it was not the Metropolitan Museum, but Michael Parloff, the amazing Michael Parloff, is just an incredibly gifted musicologist, and so he's down there listening to Shostakovich quartets as curated by Michael Parloff. I mean, there's so many amazing things out there, opportunities, but
Mhm.
just see what strikes your boat, as whatever it
Ab-
is.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know, Christina, that, maybe gravitating away, we can, of course, talk all day about how we're coping with social distancing, but I think sometimes it's nice to have a little distraction too,
Sure, I agree.
And I know you have some fascinating stories about your own Powell flutes that you have, and how you came to acquire them. Would you mind sharing a little bit
Very
with
happy to share
everybody?
them. Yes, yeah. Um, so when I was in the eighth grade, I came home from school one day, and my mother was in not tears, but just wide-eyed, and said, "There's something on the dining room table for you." And it
Oh,
was a beautiful silver Powell flute from the 70s, 1977, that a wonderful amateur flutist named Evelyn Hurd had bequeathed to me in her will. And I had no idea it was coming. I had no idea it was coming. And Evelyn was, as I said, an amateur musician and amateur flutist, and was a librarian at Baker Library at Dartmouth College, where I grew up in the Upper Valley area. And she and her husband had an amazing collection of music. They would play duets and trios and quartets with this sort of thriving um, amateur flute scene that was in the Upper Valley. And Evelyn had gone to a concert. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a flute choir that my first flute teacher, Rebecca Carson Rogers, started. And we played Spring from Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and I was the concerto soloist with the backup flute choir. I remember it because it was the piece that taught me how to triple tongue, da 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 da.
Uh-huh.
And she heard it and was kind of knew that she was sick. She had cancer, and I had no idea it was coming. And so a few days later, I played the Siciliana, the Bach Siciliana, E flat major in her funeral at Dartmouth College, and the amazing. I mean, there's so many amazing things about that story and her generosity. But the flute was certainly nothing that I would have ever had at that moment in my life,
Right.
but that sound, like immediately being able to make a sound like that and discover a sound like that,
Mhm.
I think it was a really amazing gift. I feel so fortunate that I got to grow up playing that flute. And I played that flute until 2001.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm from a family of musicians. My father's a violinist with the most gorgeous tone you can imagine. And so that was the quality of sound for me was really, really important.
Mm.
And to have an instrument that I was able to find a soul, find a sound. But was very happily playing my Yamaha 581 before that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it had been a pretty new flute for me, but
Yeah.
to be able to go to that sound of this and that 1977 1970s in the Powell Flutes was a really special time, I think,
Mhm.
for the
Mhm.
quality of sound that was coming out. So just to be able to really grow up on that flute was so incredible, and that got me into Juilliard, and I won Concertist Guild on that flute, made some recordings. A lot of important milestones happened in those years.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's so important, when I find that when I'm working with, maybe younger players, there's a big difference between the flute that sounds good right now and the flute that will also sound good as they grow as a player 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, and thinking ahead to how long the flute is going to be in your hands, and being able to just open up all those new possibilities it's really a wonderful feature of being able to have a great flute in your
And as you say, getting back to this theme of patience that we started off the hour with, like
hands. Full
not
circle.
knowing what the flute can give you, not
Yes.
having, all the gifts, everything shiny and bright just at the first time you make a sound on it, but to know that there's this whole world or, subterranean possibility there,
Mhm.
is really incredible, for a young person.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's such a heartwarming story.
Yeah, I think the generosity of someone like that. She also gave me all of her music, and so I still have. It's mostly the duets and trios, but I was looking for one here. I think it's still in my studio at CU. But she would write down every time that they would play, who they would play with, what the date was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to be part of that and live up to that
Yeah.
possibility.
Absolutely. So you played on that flute through your time at Juilliard, and then what, kind of made you realize, okay, maybe I need to change to a different instrument.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say right off the bat, I am not somebody who I've just never been someone who loves to try flutes all the time. I get a little intimidated and overwhelmed by that. But I
It's so
definitely
easy to
was.
do.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was definitely a couple of things were happening. I was playing a lot of concertos at that time. I was playing a lot of new music,
Mm,
and I was looking for something with a little bit more sound. Um,
mm.
I was also very jealous of the C sharp trill key and the offset G and the some of the split E and the little
Absolutely.
bells and whistles there, and so I was kind of trying different things out and didn't know, I had no at that point no allegiance to anything, was trying lots of different things, and Anne Pollock actually found this flute for me. It's a Powell 2001 Powell, um, and it was a similar story. So it belonged to it had been played for about 6 months before she took it on consignment, and it belonged to a man named Howard Bloom, who was a neurosurgeon in Boston and an amateur flute player, and had a Haynes flute that he played on for years, but was very much, wrapped up in career and family. And so he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and decided that he wanted to spend his remaining time playing the flute. And so
Wow.
Stephen Finley worked with him on this flute, and just in very Finley version, found exactly what he was looking for and helped him, to just discover this incredible flute. And yeah, so then it found its way to me, and I wanted to know, who this person was, and I became very close with his widow, Betty Bloom, and did some performing on the
Oh,
flute in Boston with her family as well. And it's an incredible, incredible flute. And I love that they're sort of connected in this strange way. It was certainly not anything I was going after, but it's a beautiful flute, and a
yeah.
story. Yeah.
So we did, as you were telling that's such a beautiful story, and just that connection of, of kind of by chance. We did have a question from our online Facebook audience from Cliff, and he asked, did you play test multiple flutes from other brands before you selected your Powell?
Oh yes, I mean I did. At that point I was teaching quite a bit, so students played on different flutes. I definitely was, in New York at the time, and playing many different brands for sure. But
Yep.
there was, I mean, for me, there was just something uh, when I found this flute, and that was familiar but still challenging, and had
Mm.
a new inside edge that way. So yeah, for sure. I think it's important to try everything, to play everything. And recently, actually, I recently tried to move all into gold. Were you there at all when I was flirting with golds, going all gold?
I a little bit, yep.
Yeah, yeah, and it just
You
wasn't the
did.
right thing. It wasn't the right move for me, and plus I couldn't possibly leave my current flute.
There's so much, yeah, there's so much emotion and sentiment behind it. And
Yeah.
so did you upgrade the head joint separately, or did it come? I know you have a gold head joint on your silver flute.
Yes, I did upgrade the head joint. The original one was a silver with a platinum riser, and actually it's being played right now by a principal in an orchestra. I found
Oh,
out. So
beautiful.
it's a really great head joint. It just wasn't the right one for me, and I found this one. It's a zoo head joint. I found it at a flute convention, and
Mhm.
it was total love at first sight. 14 karat. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny, you kind of mentioned that, when you found your new Powell, that, there was something comfortable about it, but provides that extra challenge. And, I've felt similar things where it feels like you're just home.
Right, right, for sure. And I mean, now I have so many students buying flutes on a regular basis.
Mhm.
And it's just really get everything in, play everything, and sometimes it is love at first sight, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it takes a
Yeah,
lot longer, and let me go back and look
absolutely.
at that, or this isn't the right time for me right now, or even I love what I'm playing on right now, and so everyone's
Absolutely.
path is just so unique, and it's interesting to know how to support a student in that process. And
Yes, absolutely. And it's not a process that should be rushed. And sometimes as you're going through it, you learn things and then maybe come back around, and everybody has, their own different adventure that they go on.
I think just the process of trying different things, especially in the college years, is so illuminating. You can learn so
Mm,
much about your own sound, and your weaknesses and strengths as a flutist, that are so interesting. So it's a great process. It
absolutely.
can be, a little bit down the rabbit hole, of course, and you can get distracted that way. But
But
yeah,
yes, very easy to do with endless options available on the market right now. Yeah, but
right.
even just within, one kind of flute. So
So
just
interesting.
going to read some of our comments from our friends who are watching right now. Peggy Johnston, you're very welcome for the clue in about the Wind Defender. She plays outdoors with a Celtic rock band a lot. How fun.
That's fun.
She
Yeah.
just ordered one.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad they're still available. I was curious. I know that some things are selling out, so yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
about the Irish flute because it's plastic.
Ah,
So, Colorado is famous for, the dry, harsh climate, and yeah, so I've just been loving
absolutely.
that.
Yes, yes. Have you, been practicing outdoors at all? Is that something that you'll do, or do you, is the weather just a little too
No, we have a great front porch, and I actually have taught a little bit outside. My husband started doing that a few weeks ago with his viola students, and I thought I can do the same thing, So a few lessons here and there, where we can really be a good 10 feet apart. And it was so amazing to hear the students play, in person without distortion of the sound or anything like that. And
Mhm.
that was a miracle. We were joking, my first student and I, that the only issue that we really had, it was so windy. Everyone's long hair is blowing all over the place. So that's our idea. But no, we're going to do some porch concerts. We've done a couple very impromptu concerts where the kids will suddenly say, "I want to play," and we'll run outside and play something. But we
Oh,
we are going to do some more formal things. My husband and I have a duo together, and a lot of pieces that have been written for us that we finally get to dig into and learn. No excuses now.
perfect.
Yeah, we're working on
Absolutely.
several different projects that will be fun to put outside.
So we have a couple other questions. Peggy was asking, have you ever played on a wood Powell head joint?
I have. In fact, I think it was with you when we were at the Buffet Crampon showroom in New York City, and I was recording one of the Rockbird Caprices.
That's
And
right.
I loved that head joint, actually. I mean, it's so different from this Irish flute, obviously, because that has a very wooden sound. Um,
Mhm.
the Powell ones aren't as you would expect them. In fact, they almost have like a gold, a 14 karat gold sound to them in some ways.
Yeah.
Yes, I love those head joints, and
Yeah, I would agree. There's a very organic type of warmth to them, and but yeah, the feel, it doesn't I don't know if it was a while ago, so if you want to talk about how they feel different or if you felt what new challenges wood brings, or it was a while ago, so I won't put you
yeah,
on the
no,
spot.
I mean, it's interesting because yeah, that feeling, the sensation of feeling of being different sometimes can be really really freaky. And for me, I play a Philharmonic cut here, and when I go to a different cut, the soloist, for example, oh, I can't feel it, I can't, I can't find it. But the wood was not nearly as strange for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. I also am a tactile person, so like the sensation of like things like the temperature underneath the key, the fingers, or underneath the lip is something that is very
Yeah.
sensitive to me. And yeah, the wood, I didn't. It was much more normal than the other.
Yeah, I think, just to speak to the efforts of our amazing, flute makers and head joint makers, it's more of a modern approach to a wood head joint. They're cut similarly to the way that we're doing the metal. So, it's the little best of everything where you get, kind of that old world warmth, but a modern feel. And so thank you to our wonderful head joint makers for their fine work.
Beautiful.
So we do have another question. Anthony is asking, he said, going back to the idea of tension and these tense times and tension sneaking into your playing, what are some of your favorite ways of finding, working through, and eliminating
Yes, it's so important.
tension? It's a big question.
It's a big question. Yeah, I mean, so getting back to the yoga that we've been doing, I think that's been really amazing. I live in like the yoga capital of the world, probably, Boulder, Colorado. You can, find a different way of practicing yoga on every street corner here. And so I had never been an online yoga person, and my students had been telling me about this Yoga with Adriene for years, which is a free program actually, and she's really, really great. And so I think that moving the body every day is really important, really, really important. These are funny times when it's hard to get out of the house sometimes, right? But just moving your body in some way, that way is really important. I'm also a big constructive rest fan. So that is the Alexander technique process of like lying down on the ground, and they say put a book underneath your head and your knees up. That practice can be really helpful in just sort of saying, you begin your practice and you're up here, and you can even see it in some of the videos of flute players right now, as that, we get the weight of the world on our shoulders, and just so letting some of that go before we begin practicing, I think is really, really important. Again, getting back to the video, I think it's really interesting. We see ourselves on camera a lot more right now, which is really scary and overwhelming, and can really be helpful to see, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. Wow, my flute is down here. Is that really what I'm meant to do,
Yeah. And even, I was working, I kind of mentioned the challenges when you're teaching virtually and trying to get that right angle. And, sometimes you just put the phone in a different spot, or the computer, or whatever your recording device is, and you get that different angle, and you learn all new kinds of things, oh, I'm doing this. And
Totally. Yeah, I think that when you're working on tension or posture or any kind of issue, again, this like choose hard, work hard, get sick idea, the opposite of that is just work easy. So find a 5 minute or a 3 minute moment. I've got this app on my phone called Insight Timer that has this beautiful gong that you can set to go off, in a minute or two, and you set a time limit and say, okay, I'm really going to think about my posture. I'm really going to think about how intensely I'm holding down the keys. Like, do I need all this, right? Or, whatever the issue may be that you're particularly wanting to work on. And then the timer goes off and you go, all right, I'm done. My brain is exhausted, and now I'll move on to something else. But just a small window of effort, and then release and let it go and do something else, and do something that's fun. It's beautiful. Play the Bach Sarabande, or the first Don Juan etude, or something like that.
Yeah, and it makes it a little more accessible and not so daunting. Hey, it's just 3 minutes. I can do anything for 3 minutes or 4 minutes, in those small chunks like that.
Right. Beautiful.
Absolutely. So let's see. Hello, fellow Powell artist Miguel is watching from Mexico City. He plays a beautiful wood flute. And Luke Panella from our Buffet Creme Punch showroom in New York City. He says hello from Long Island.
Great.
And let's see, Olivia is asking, do you have any suggestions for staying motivated to practice productively at home when there isn't much to prepare for right now? That's a good one. Thank you, Olivia.
That is when my warm-up classes come in. That has been the reason for that, because I have found myself and my students really struggling with that. And I have always been a feast or famine person, right? So I'll take a break, and then I'll have a concert, and I'll get really motivated and start really working. But setting little challenges for yourself. I love the Etude of the Week for that. I know there's different editions. There's the amateur edition, and just to say a little bit about that, there's been, it's at an all-time high now as far as the number of members that are on that. It really is a supportive environment for students, for flutists of all levels. But you might not want to be on social media. So maybe setting a challenge for yourself. There's that 100-day practice challenge that I think can be really great. I haven't been enjoying the acapella app, the different, ways that you can play with yourself or play with a friend. I will say that yesterday at the end of our first Rise Up class, I played the second part of the Bach She May Safely Graze, and the students played the first part. And so I said, we finished it, and I said, okay, so how did that work? Was that a total disaster? Because I can't hear what anyone else is playing. And everybody wrote and said that it was really great. It was great to play with somebody else. So I think we can do duets this way, you know.
Absolutely.
And we don't necessarily hear the beautiful resonance of the thirds together, but knowing that it's there and it's a possibility, I think can be inspiring, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, getting the chance to just you know, play with friends or colleagues who are spread out throughout the country, even, you know, the wonders of technology. I kind of a similar project, a little shout out to my DePaul Flute Studio friends. And, you know, we're going to do a little project of, you know, alums from a certain span, and you record your part, and it's something to just work on. And then hopefully, you know, you have a tech savvy person in the group or, you know, it's a good challenge to learn it. And then, you know, it's a new kind of collaboration. Absolutely.
For sure, for sure. And you know, that's the other thing is that you can have a lesson with anyone you want right now, pretty much.
Very true.
So it's funny that the students that are getting ready to audition for grad school programs, it's always the time in the summer when you're like, okay, we'll go to the NFA and we'll see who's there and who you can get a lesson with, and can travel to a couple of places. And guess what? You can have a lesson with every single one of those people now if you have the energy to do that.
That's a very good point. And you know, it doesn't hurt to ask. And you know, I think hopefully we proved today that, you know, you're all very nice people, very accessible. So even if you're a little scared, like this is a really important person, just send an email, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I have to say, I've really been enjoying teaching students I don't know. I think because the Zoom medium is a little bit obviously less than ideal, working with a student who you don't know, you don't have any expectation about what their level is really has been very inspiring and motivating and creates a lot of energy. I've been doing a lot of lesson swaps with colleagues around the country, you know, saying,
fun.
This student needs a little extra boost. Could we just barter a lesson? You know, this is a piece you know really well, or this is someone who I think you'll really connect with, and let's just do a little swap. You know, everything is so different right now. The rules of the road are totally different.
They really are. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it looks like we've answered all of our fans' questions, but thank you so much for taking the time today to sit and chat with me and our flute community. I've certainly learned a lot, and I'm feeling very inspired, and hopefully everybody else is too.
It's great to connect with our friends and family, and just our community here is so strong, and I know we can rise up through this and emerge even stronger after a little cocooning in. You know?
Exactly. It was a good chance to, you know, look internally, and now we can find new ways to look outward and like you said, rise up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Christina. Thank you to everybody who tuned in today. And, you know, if you have any questions after the fact, you can send them to me. I'll pass them to Christina, or they can probably send a message right on Facebook or.
Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, Christina.
My friend, great to talk to you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.